Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr., and I'm your host for the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Jane Henry, owner and lead decorator at Jane's Sugar Magnolia. What's up, podcast? Episode 41. Welcome to the On the Stacks podcast. Jane, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. You brought these amazing cookies with the On the Stacks logo on them, and I'm like highly, highly impressed.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad.
I mean, Darren took half of them, so I'm a little sad.
Beef.
I know. But no, I'm really excited to hear you brought a lot of really good treats today, and we'll talk a little bit about those in a minute, and you know about what you do. But let's just first start with your background. You're from the area here. You grew up here, so kind of just take me back to the beginning before you went away to school and all that.
Well, like you said, I was born and raised here in Dallas. I went to Wyoming Seminary for pre-K through high school. I graduated from there, and then I went to Penn State.
We are.
There we go. Penn State main campus. I actually started as a kinesiology major, thought I wanted to be a physical therapist. And then halfway through my freshman year, I totally switched and went for food science.
So what made you switch? Like, why
I, in high school, was very involved with sports and was always in the training room and thought like, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to become either a physical therapist or an athletic trainer. And then once I was in college and wasn't in the gym all the time, I kind of lost interest in it.
Okay.
But I always loved baking growing up with my mom. And at one point I called my dad and I said, I don't love my classes. I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, what do I do? And I hope this doesn't come off as offensive, but he said to me, you can keep following the path that you're going on, but you might end up rubbing people's feet for a living and helping them with foot injuries or any sort of injury. Like, it's not always going to be glamorous helping athletes.
Sure.
There's going to be a lot of other work involved with it. And that's just the one thing I remember. Like, I have a lot of respect for people in that field, obviously, but it was not for me.
It was just, you just no longer became interested.
Yeah. So I switched to food science because I love food. I love making food, eating food, making food for other people because it makes you happy. Mm-hmm. Like the cookies, they make you happy.
Yes.
So I totally switched, went for food science. And then once I graduated in 2016, I went to Culinary School, the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park.
Cool.
And fell in love with sugar flowers.
What are sugar flowers?
So all over wedding cakes, birthday, and any sort of like extravagant cake, you can find gum paste flowers on them. And it's like, I like to refer to it as edible Play-Doh. So you can sculpt out of sugar these beautiful flowers or sculptures, all sorts of decorations. But I specifically fell in love with making flowers that look realistic, but you could eat them. If you really wanted to, you could eat them. So after culinary school, I went to New York City to pursue that. I interned with Ron Ben Israel in New York City and learned a lot with him.
For those who don't know who.
Yeah. So Ron Ben Israel, he's like the best wedding cake designer in New York City and really one of the best in the country.
So after culinary school, how did you get that? You got a job there?
Right. I got an internship. Oh, yeah. Okay. So while you're in culinary school at the CIA, you have to do a 15-week externship program. You get credit for it and you work at their various different approved places. But I did mine in Washington, D.C. at the Ritz-Carlton, and I did one wedding cake while I was there, and I loved it. It was the best project I got to do while I was working there. Mm-hmm. So then once I returned to school, was asking teachers, where can I keep doing this after school? Because there are places that do gum paste flowers, but I wanted to learn from the best. So I took a class from a woman named Betty Van Nostrand, and she actually lived like a mile from campus, and she's the pioneer of sugar flowers in the United States. She's like the leader. She really taught tons of people the art, and she kind of, like I said, like pioneered that industry here. She created a bunch of the molds, a bunch of the techniques. So it was cool that I got to learn like from like the master, if you will. And she actually taught Ron Ben Israel. So just having a bunch of different conversations with teachers and with Betty, I decided I have to go learn from him. He's one of the other best, so I have to go. So I did my internship there once I had already graduated in New York City. It was a 3-month program. As an intern, you make some of the flowers, but really one of the most educational things that I learned there was the process of building a cake start to finish. And they make huge cakes. Like 5-foot tall cakes there.
Wow.
Yeah. So I really learned a lot. And it was awesome. It just kind of solidified my love for cakes and flowers and designing. And it was a good experience.
So, I mean, I've heard of the name Ron Ben Israel. I don't know a whole lot about him, but I mean, I don't know how big of a company or bakery it is. Did you get to like work with them like personally?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole group there sits down for lunch together every day. So I'd sit next to Ron like every day for lunch.
Okay. So it's not a ton of people.
No, it's a small group. There were probably there were 6 main team members there and then 4 to 5 interns at a time. So it is a smaller group, but you'd be shocked at the amount that they produce there every week. It's like coming out of like a factory, you'd expect.
Yeah.
They just like crank out these beautiful wild cakes. But it is like a small, close group of people that work there. So you kind of get to know people on a personal level and learn from them. And like Ron, he's there every day. He'll answer any questions you have. He was really cool.
What would you say, either from him or maybe somebody else there, is there anything like that you really took away from it? Like, is there like 1 or 2 things that you really said, like, I learned so much from that?
Yeah. This is going to seem silly, but learning how to like structurally build a cake is something we kind of learned in culinary school, but not to the extent that I learned there. Like building all the little dowels that have to go into these huge structures. That I really think was the biggest takeaway for me, because I've learned sugar flours. I obviously expanded my knowledge on them there, but the way that they build cakes there was just so new to me. And I now use that method in my bakery. So it really was a huge lesson.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What about at culinary school?
Oh boy. What was the biggest lesson I learned there?
Yeah. Anything. Even if it wasn't about, cakes, what was the experience like?
It was cool. It was a little different for me because I had already done a 4-year college and a lot of the students there are out of high school. So there was an age gap. It didn't prevent me, I made friends with people. You have to work in groups a lot, and it was still a wonderful experience. It was just so different than the 4-year program that, I had already experienced. But it's a great school. It's Culinary Institute in Hyde Park. And I don't know, the biggest lesson I think is just like, this is going to sound silly, but clean as you go. Because at the end of class, if there's a huge pile of dishes at the sink and you don't finish on time, you're going to be in trouble.
Okay.
So, I guess just like time management in the kitchen, staying clean and tidy, and save all the recipes you learn from every single teacher, because now I use them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's
use
cool.
a lot of recipes that I learned in school.
What are like 1 or 2 of your favorites?
Oh boy. Probably eclairs, which are like a simple pastry, but it's a really cool baking method, which I could like go so far into the actual science behind it. So that's cool because I learned all the science in Penn State, and now I was getting to apply it in the kitchen.
Okay.
And definitely croissants, because who doesn't love croissants? And getting to see the process and learning how to make them start to finish was really cool.
So like what all did you learn to make?
Oh, so much. We had classes that focus. So like your first class at the school, you can either, I'll say, major in culinary or in baking and pastry arts. So I obviously did the baking and pastry program. And your first class is called, I don't know what the technical term for it was, but we called it fundies. So your fundamental class. And you're learning everything from like chocolate chip cookies the first week to chocolate croissants towards the end of your class. So you kind of just get like a broad introduction to a lot of different methods. And then you go into classes that focus just on cakes or just on decorating, or we had a culinary class for baking students. So in that you bake like pasta and learn how to cook meats and all these different things that the other students in the school were majoring in. So you kind of get introduced to both fields. My favorite class there was probably the cakes class, because it's just when I fell in love with what I'm doing. But one of the other really great classes was a breads class. One of the not so great parts of it was that it started at 5 a.m. But by 11:30 or 12, you're eating fresh bread from the oven for breakfast. So it was a carb heavy class, but it was fun.
Yeah. So you did the internship, and did you do anything else while you were in New York City?
Yeah, I had just started a new position at New York Cake. It's this really awesome, huge store that has all sorts of baking equipment, from like measuring spoons to molds and different shaped cake pans and boxes, like anything you could think of, they sold it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working in they have a little bakery portion as well, their cafe. And I was working in there helping with cakes and orders. And I was just about to start a position as like a cafe kind of creative consultant, I guess. I don't know. I was going to be designing things that they were selling in their case. So I was there for probably 2 months. And then I moved home. My dad passed away, so I moved back to Dallas and kind of found myself like not really knowing what to do. I knew I wanted to stay home. I wanted to move home at some point anyway, so I might as well stay. And my brothers were home and my mom was home and my sister's home now. At the time she was in Greenwich, but we have a really close family. So I'm like, I'm staying. I have all that I need here, so I'm here now.
Yeah. So you moved back, and at what point, did you like decide like, hey, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna open my own bakery. How did it happen?
I really don't even know how it happened. I obviously took a few months to kind of process everything that had happened in my life. Mm-hmm. And my mom and I just kind of started looking at places for rent and for sale in the area. I had always talked about opening my own bakery, and I kind of thought it would be further into my life, like 30s or 40s. I don't know. Just, I figured, I need a lot more experience before I do this, but I did it anyway.
Yeah.
We started looking at places that were available. There was this old barn on Main Street in Dallas that it looked pretty run down, to be honest with you. But we drove past it one day, and my mom has some sort of incredible talent to just envision things in a totally different way than how I see them. And it was available for sale. So we went to look at it, and she had 100% confidence that like this place could be awesome. I needed some convincing, but we decided just to go for it. So my mom and I bought the building together, and we worked with architects to kind of turn it into my dream bakery and a place that kind of feels like it should be maybe in the city or in like Greenwich or something you probably wouldn't really expect in Dallas.
Yeah.
But we wanted something like that here, a place that we would like to go and sit and have a coffee with a friend, or it's like a little escape.
Mm-hmm.
So we turned it into exactly what we wanted, and I just went for it. And it's paid off. It's been really fun.
That's cool. So how did you come up with the name Jane Sugar Magnolia?
So I had been going back and forth on a bunch of different names, but Sugar Magnolia is a Grateful Dead song, and it was my dad's favorite song. He was big Deadhead, and it's just the music from Grateful Dead now is really important to my family. Not so much in that like I have to be listening to it all the time, but just every time it comes on, I can't help but think of my dad. So it's the Sugar Magnolia, that's for my dad. But it's also cool because Sugar Magnolia, a flower, kind of is a nod to my art in sugar flowers and what I like to do. So it's a really cool mashup, I think anyway, of my passion and still, something that I think my dad would have really loved and would have, obviously I wish you were here to see it. But I know like he's just a part of it every day.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So you guys renovated the building.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been there personally yet myself, but I've seen pictures.
Gotta get there.
I know. I've seen pictures. It's awesome.
Thank you.
It's really, really nice. So you just opened up like what, a year ago?
Yeah, our first official day was January 21st.
Yeah, so it hasn't even been
not a full year yet. We did though last Christmas. We had our kitchen approved and FDA certified just in time so that we could crank out some cakes for Christmas. So I've been in the kitchen for at least a year, well, almost a year now. But our storefront opened January 21st, and we were open for 2 months. And then this pandemic happened. So it's been a little bit of a rough ride, but we're making it work.
Yeah. So how did it go when you first opened?
Oh my gosh. I was so unprepared. I baked so I think maybe we opened on a Tuesday or Thursday. I don't remember.
Did you like take like pre-orders or something? Is that why?
No, I had initially planned to open for Thanksgiving, and then, timelines get pushed and things happen, whatever. So January, I was in the kitchen, just kind of practicing some recipes, figuring out what to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to open. Let's just open. Let's see how it goes. And I wasn't prepared for it. I probably we make everything from scratch. So I had myself in the kitchen prepared like blueberry muffin mix and cookies and maybe 5 or 6 items that I could sell out front because it was our first day. And I was like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know if people even know that I'm here. So I had maybe like 4 dozen muffins and a bunch of different cookies. And we were sold out in like an hour. And I was like, oh, what do I do? Like, I'm out of everything. Like, it's coffee only now. So it was like a huge awakening to realize I need to hire a team. I need to really have a schedule figured out. I think it took off so quickly because there's not a lot like it in Dallas, and people were just excited for something new. So there were a lot of late nights prepping a bunch of recipes. I think we were maybe open on like the beginning of the week. And then I had to do a few days where it's coffee only because I need to prepare for the weekend. And then the night before we were opening, my oven shut off. And I realize now it's because the gas line became disconnected. So it's totally my fault. But I had a bunch of chocolate chip cookies in the oven that I was preparing to sell for that day. And they all just turned to like brittle. Like they all just melted instead of baking. So on our opening day, we sold a bunch of cookie brittle, but we had a lot of other things, but it was definitely like, I had to find my footing. So we kind of opened maybe a little prematurely, but it's worked out.
That's okay. I mean, obviously you learned.
Yeah.
You know? So what are some of the items that you sell?
Well, some of our signature items, we have these orange cranberry scones that they sell faster than you could think. I mean, we probably sell at least 2 dozen of them a day. We have people who come in every other day, every 3 days to like restock up on them. And then they take them home and have them for breakfast every day, which it's really cool. So our scones are really popular. Our chocolate chip cookies, I think, are some of the best in the area. Those sell very fast. And now we're focusing on these new items called hot cocoa bombs. And those have been selling like wildfire too. Just we can't keep up with them.
What are they?
It's like a chocolate hollow ball. And then inside there's marshmallows and there's hot chocolate mix. And we have some that have peppermint in them too. And you can either like drop them in your hot milk or pour your hot milk on top. And it's cool because you see it like explode like a bomb and you get hot chocolate out of it.
That's really cool.
It is cool. We make them all by hand. So it's a little tedious, but it's really cool to see how excited people get over them.
Yeah. So how many people work there?
We have a team of probably 7 or 8 people. There's me. I kind of manage everything in the kitchen. And then like office related work, I'm always trying my best to respond to emails like right away, but there's so much. But it's really cool because my best friend, Lena, we were best friends since like 2nd grade. She's our front of house manager. So I get to work with my best friend every day, which is fun. And she has been very helpful.
That's
I kind
awesome.
of dragged her into it the second day we were open. I was like, I need you. But yeah, we have a few, a small group of employees, but all of them are essential really.
Yeah. So out of all the different products that you do, which is your favorite? Like, what's your favorite to make and what's your favorite to eat? Or is it both the same?
My favorite probably to eat and make are French macarons, and people go nuts for them.
Are those like the colored ones that I see the pictures of, like that are like all like in the line?
Yep, yeah. And we do this fun thing on our Instagram. We have a story highlight where I call it the macaron flick. When they're all in a tray and you kind of are unsticking them from the pan and I just kind of flick them.
Okay, yeah.
It's
over like dominoes?
Yeah,
kind of thing?
It's oddly satisfying to watch. You're just like watching this cookie get
I gotta
flicked
check
off.
this.
Yeah, you gotta watch
out.
But they're fun to make. They're definitely involved, but they're a bit of like a delicacy, I guess you could say, because again, there aren't many places that sell them homemade, and you can do all sorts of flavors. So we're kind of trying new things with the flavors, but the community seems to really like them, and I really enjoy eating them too. So I'll keep making them.
Yeah. Like you talked about the different flavors and people liking some different flavors. Like, do you get feedback from people, and like, how do you come up with different flavors?
Mostly feedback from my family.
Okay.
Because they taste everything I make. We've had requests for certain flavors, like for birthday parties, someone ordered, and now it's a regular of ours, a Fruity Pebble flavor. We just kind of try and see what ingredients we have and what we can turn that into. We'll do like seasonal flavors. So in the spring, we had passion fruit, which was really cool. Not many people are familiar with it, but it's like tropical fruity. It's good. It's more than good. They're great. We'll do like Christmas themed flavors. We do all sorts. Every season, we try to do new flavors. And then we post about it when we have them because, like I said, they're involved. So it's hard to have them available every single day. But we post about when we'll have them and people just like flood the store to buy them. So yeah, it's really cool to see the turnout that these like little French cookies bring.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
So you also do like these ridiculously large, elaborate, super detailed, like perfect cakes.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about them.
So that's my favorite. I obviously like baking, like everyday cookies and muffins, whatever. But my favorite is doing these cakes and these sugar flowers. And I just think it's so cool that, like, say for a wedding, if your wedding is in the winter, but the bride's favorite flower is peonies, they're not going to be in season. I don't think. Maybe I don't know. I guess I don't know my seasons all that well. Hopefully I'm right here. I don't think they're in season in the winter. I'm pretty sure they're not. But you're not going to be able to get them from like your local florist for your wedding. But if you come to me, I can easily make them and put them on your cake.
And they're edible.
They are edible. Right? They have some wires in there, so I wouldn't
So you really just
like swallow one. Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. Don't just like put a whole flower in your mouth. But they are edible. And it's cool too because if you don't eat them, you can keep them forever. So it's kind of a little keepsake too for the bride and groom from your wedding. You can have like a little collection.
So what are they, like hardened? Like
yeah, they turn into like almost like clay, I guess. So they air dry. They're super thin so that they look a bit more realistic, but they dry and they will last forever as long as they're not in like a very humid environment. I still have mine from the class that I took 3 or 4 years ago at this point. So they really do last forever. And it's cool to like, I don't know, it's just something to be proud of. Like I made that.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds a lot of fun. I mean, plus you're working with things that are very tasty.
Yeah. That's not too bad.
Yeah. What was like the most intricate cake you've ever made? Like I've seen some photos on Instagram and like I'm trying to think of one and I don't want to name one, but like I don't know what are some of the most intricate ones you've done? How long did they take to make?
They take a while. The sugar flowers themselves, I usually tell people I need like a long heads up for these because I make the gum paste as well. So everything is made from scratch. I make the gum paste and then I turn that into flowers. So it's a long process because you have to make the gum paste. You need to make each petal. You need to wire them all together. You need to color them. It's a process.
And you do this all yourself?
I do. Yeah. Anytime we get a cake with gum paste on it, like I'm taking it. I want to do that one. So it's I don't know. One of the coolest cakes I did was for an Instagram contest. So the cake that I did, it was for this designer in New York City. Her name is Madison Lee. And she started this group. Anybody could enter it. But every month she would give you like a mock client folder. So say like, this is the bride and groom, this is her dress, this is their place setting, this is their venue, XYZ information. And then you need to make a cake that you think would be perfect for that wedding. And then she would pick her top 3 favorite and then have her followers vote and pick which one they liked the best. And then, so every month this would happen. It started like right before the pandemic. So I think we only had 2 full sessions of it. But for the second round, I entered this giant cake that I made and it was in her top 3. And then it got enough likes that I was like the winner of that round. But it was cool because I really challenged myself with this one because I hung flowers upside down on it. Because I was like, who else is going to do that? I don't know. It's just something different. I haven't seen it on a wedding cake. So I like to challenge myself in design that way. And sometimes it doesn't work out. But with that specific cake, it was a really cool result.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you win? Like you won?
Well, like I said, it happened right before the pandemic. I know the winner of the first round got like a one-on-one class with Madison for sugar flowers. Mm-hmm. And to be totally honest, I don't know what I won. I know that once the pandemic is over, I'll find out.
Okay.
But my cake, the picture of my cake is still on her Instagram. So if you go to Madison Lee's Instagram, you'll see this cake. It's on ours as well, but I think it's one of the more recent photos on her feed.
What's her handle?
I think it's Madison Lee Cakes.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was one of the cooler cakes that I made. And I'm hoping that I get that same prize and get to go learn from her and kind of learn more flower techniques. Because even though like all these, there are several, big names in gum paste flowers, but they all have very distinct styles. So I've also taken a lot of classes with Maggie Austin. And she's like, I love her. She's my idol. She's so cool. But her flowers look so different from like Ron Ben Israel's style. So you can do a lot, like say they're both making roses, but they look totally different. So I like learning different people's techniques so that I can kind of hopefully make my own technique one day and have my own like branded style, I guess. Yeah. But it's cool to like learn how different people are making the same thing, but they have a totally different result.
Yeah. So who was Maggie?
Maggie Austin. It's funny. There are so many people in the cake industry who have a past in ballet. For some reason, like Ron Ben Israel, he was a professional ballerina as well. I don't know if there's a male version of that word, but he was a professional ballerina. And Maggie Austin was as well. She was a very accomplished ballerina. And I think the story goes that she had a foot injury that kind of put an end to her dancing career. And she went to culinary school, and then I think a lot of the flower work that she now teaches was self-taught, but she's just like the most authentic person, and she wants to teach you. She doesn't really take on orders anymore because she's more passionate, I believe, about teaching.
Okay.
So I've taken like 2 or 3 classes with her, and every time they post a new schedule, I'm like, okay, which ones of these can I actually get to? Because every time I'm there, I learn something new, and you just leave feeling like so accomplished. Like, I just learned all this really cool stuff in 2 to 3 days that I can now carry with me through my career. But her style is very like soft and romantic, and she uses really cool techniques on the cakes themselves too. So it's just like you're always learning new things from her.
Mm-hmm. So are they like classes in person, or are they virtual, or both? Or?
Yeah, the classes that I've gone to are in Alexandria, and it's maybe a group, this was pre-pandemic, but a group of like 20 students, and it's like a 3 or 4 day class. And the first day you're introduced to the flowers that you're going to make, and you have to start, like I said, like molding the petals. And then on day 2, you're coloring, and then on day 3 or 4, you're assembling your cake. So you have to, usually on day 1, like sketch what it is that you want to have by the end of the class. And it's cool to see everyone else's, like all these projects just come to life and how different they are, but we're all learning the same things. It's just we're like applying them differently to our cakes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a cool process.
Yeah. It's interesting to me. So like you said, like you and 20 other students, like you still consider yourself a student because you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
Like, were other people that were there, were they like business owners like you,
no,
or were some like actual like students in school, or both?
There's a pretty good mix. There's sometimes like younger. The first one I went to, I was the youngest, and this was before I had done my internship with Rambin Israel, and I had only made flowers a few times, so I kind of felt like a newbie there, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I should really be here. I'm not a professional. I'm still learning. But then by my like 3rd class, I had already had like my business plan ready to go. My building was under construction. We were getting close to opening, and someone referred to me as a professional. And I'm like, what? Like, I've never heard that before. That's cool. But I'm probably always going to consider myself a student because, like I said, I want to learn all these different professionals' techniques. So I don't know. I don't consider myself I guess I am a professional in some ways, but I'm always learning too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, everyone. I mean, I don't think it matters like what profession you're in. I think, it's a constant learning curve with everything, and
and you want that.
Yeah, and things are constantly changing, and you know what I mean. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So what about you've only been in business for like a year, right? I mean, but what has been one of the most satisfying, or proud moments like since you've opened? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I think just still staying open. I know. The past few weeks have been a constant juggle of like, okay, what do we do now? Now we have all these restrictions. Well, now what do we do? And we're just like constantly figuring out ways to stay open and providing things for our community. I don't think I'll ever get over the day of like seeing my bakery finally finished and comparing the before and after photos. It's just like night and day for me. Yeah. I'm always learning. I don't have a background in business. I have a lot of people in my family who are very great at business, but I don't think I've ever taken a single business class. So for me, I'm always learning that aspect of it and kind of learning as I go. So I don't know. It's just, like I said, I'm constantly learning and kind of applying these new lessons every day. And I think if I were to compare where I am now in the kitchen to where I was January 21st, I think I probably seem like a different person because I'm on top of things. And I try very hard to always keep my cool in the kitchen. It's funny because like when I was 14 or 15, whatever, making a cake at home, I'd like have a meltdown if something went wrong. And now someone like, I don't know, puts a wrong color on a cake. And I'm like, okay, this is how we fix it. Like I've just learned a lot. And I've learned that something like a mistake in the kitchen is not the end of the world. There's always something you can do to fix it. And it's not worth like getting so stressed out and so freaked out over something because what I can see on a cake, you probably wouldn't even notice.
Right.
It's cool to see my progress, like my personal progress and my professional progress. And it'll be interesting to see like 5 years from now where I'm at with that. But it's it's been fun.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about, you never took a business course,
right?
And you said your family has been successful in business. I mean, did they help you? I mean, besides them, is there anyone else or anything else like either books or I don't know, anything else that's been like a good resource to you that has kind of helped you with the business side?
Yeah, but so actually, when I was still in New York City, I had been in communication and had been talking with Kathy Reppert, who she's local. She owned Truly Scrumptious, and she also specialized in sugar flowers. And I was kind of picking her brain all the time, like just trying to figure out like the local business field with these cakes and like the demand for it. Yeah. So when my dad was still here, I learned a lot from him in terms of like I said, keeping your cool, keeping your composure. You have to treat your employees like family. You always have to, be your best self at your work. So I learned a lot from him. And I think even though he's not here, I'm still learning from him. I'm not going to get emotional here, but it's okay. I can hear him like certain times just saying like, this is what you should do, or like, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
But now I kind of get that from my brothers, which is really cool. And my mom, she was a full-time mom growing up, but she is probably the smartest woman I know. And she can solve anything. Like, even she doesn't have professional training in baking, but she'll come out of nowhere and be like, oh, you have to add this or this to it. And I'm like, how do you know this? And I don't know this.
Yeah, like I went to school for this.
But I'm always trying to like pick brains of business people that I know. My brothers, like I said, have been an awesome kind of source of advice. Mm-hmm. So I'm lucky I grew up with a lot of like strong, powerful people around me. So I'm able to like feed off of that and hopefully become one myself. But I have a lot of good resources.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, was opening your business everything you thought it would be?
Oh boy. Yes and no. I don't think I was quite, like I said, I knew I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
I just thought it would be further down the line and under different circumstances.
Yeah.
But really, I am thankful for how it played out, because now I'm 26, turning 27 next month. So I am young and I have a lot of energy, and I'm like eager to learn and eager to be successful. So I think it's better that I'm starting at this age, really.
Definitely.
Yeah. Everything sounds cheesy, but everything really does happen for a reason. And I think I'm on the right path. And truthfully, if the circumstances were different, I don't know if I would have gotten to do this. So I'm glad that my mom saw the potential in that building and that she kind of pushed me to just do it. And my family was really supportive, and my friends are incredibly supportive. So I guess it is everything that I dreamed it would be. And I'm anxious to see kind of it grow. I never wanted to stop growing. I want to do more. I have plans to do more. So I'm happy with where I am now, but I'm really excited to see where it goes too.
Cool. So do you have like some ideas of like where you want to take it in the future?
Yeah. I am just always adding to my list of different kind of businesses now that I want to start. I'm like, where am I even going to find the time for this? But I have like 3 or 4 other ideas kind of cooking that I want to start.
Cool.
But yeah.
Can you share them now, or are they like secrets? You don't have to if they're like...
I think I'm going to keep them secret.
Okay.
But hopefully you'll see them.
When they happen, you're going to come back on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about them.
Bring you more food.
Yes.
They're all food related.
Okay.
They're always going to be food related. Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully you can put my logo on whatever that is too, and you can bring that again.
I think it can be done. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
What about any challenges? Like what? Like, I mean, obviously probably COVID. Like 2 months after opening.
Yeah.
I mean, besides that, I mean, were there any other challenges that like maybe you just didn't see coming, or just, kind of unplanned on,
Yeah. Well, I had several weddings lined up on our calendar for this spring and summer, and I had kind of gotten like a jump start on all of these things, and then the pandemic hit. So that's kind of a lesson that I've learned on I call it pivoting in the kitchen. And like, I prepped all this stuff. Now it's not needed. What do I do with it? So I've kind of I've just learned how to go a different route with things that I thought were going to turn out differently.
Kind of like those cookies that like, what do you say, became brittle.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, and honestly, those sold so well.
And probably turned out and no one probably knew the difference, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And we had a batch of cookies too, chocolate chip, that there was a different flour made into or used in the batter. And I was like, wow, I'm not throwing this stuff out. You can't just throw things away and start over. So I've kind of adapted new recipes. And this same thing, these became like such a popular item that now we're all out of this like, no, not that it's no good cookie dough, but it just is not our recipe. Mm-hmm. Now we've, sold all of it. We made it work. We turned it into something awesome. And now people are requesting it And I'm like, well, wait, that was an accident. Like,
yeah. Well, if you have any accidents that people don't want, you know where to find me.
Yeah.
And feel free just to come and drop them off.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I can do that.
Yeah. And what about any advice that maybe you would give someone like yourself? Like, you said, you're 26 years old. You're you're really young. I mean, I'm young too. I'm not that much older than you. But I mean, just from somebody like you who you took the risk and opened your own business. I mean, like, what would you tell somebody who's thinking maybe to do the same thing? Not necessarily in your field, but just in general.
Do it. Because honestly, I don't know where I would have been if I didn't do it. And I would hate to think if I hadn't followed this, when I'm down the road later in my life, I would never want to be like, I should have done that, or I wish I had done that, or what would have happened if I had done that. I'm doing it.
So
I keep saying this.
You don't want to have any regrets.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the worst that happens is that it doesn't go as you planned, and maybe you have to find a different path, but at least you tried and you tried to follow that dream, but maybe that wasn't what you're supposed to be doing. So just try and see where it goes, because you might end up owning a really cool business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'd be happy going to work every day. My mom and dad always said growing up, if you love what you do, you never go to work a day in your life.
It's true.
And honestly, I still feel like I'm working, but at least I'm excited to go to work.
Yeah, you love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get to be creative and I get to make people happy with these things that I make.
Yeah.
So it's just do it. If you love it, just follow that dream and see if it'll work. And I'm sure if you're really passionate about it, it will work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you have, do you call it like a cafe where people can come in? So you have the bakery, which it's people can come in, right?
Yeah.
And what can someone expect when they come in?
Yeah. So our storefront is like a coffee shop bakery. So we have a full espresso menu, tea, coffee. We sell La Colombe.
La Colombe.
Yeah. Good coffee.
Oh my God. I love it.
So you can expect good drinks when you come, good coffee, strong espresso. And then we have a case full of pastries too. So we have cupcakes, cookies, croissants, all sorts of different like breads. Now we sell bread too from Bread Service PA. So we have like artisan loaves as well. Macarons. Like you can come in. It's the perfect spot. My sister and I always say it's a perfect spot to like meet your friend, just have a cup of coffee and a cookie and kind of feel like you're escaping for a little bit without having to leave Dallas or like drive 20 minutes to find a place. And it was really cool. When we first opened, we had a lot of students coming in from Misericordia. We're like a mile from campus. So people would come in, these students would come with like their group and they'd work on a group project in the storefront and have coffee and snacks and like be studying together.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool because people like had a place to go.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I said, I was at Penn State and there was always somewhere to go. But here, like it's a little different. There's not quite as much available. But now like I was providing a place for students to go, which was really cool because I loved doing that in college. And now I get to see like students coming in and working together and just enjoying the environment that my mom and I and my sister, my whole family, we work together to create it. So it's definitely like a grab. You can come in any day and grab a cookie, grab a coffee, grab whatever you want. But then you can also pre-order cakes or custom cookies or custom desserts for any event. So we kind of have like two businesses going on where it's your daily sales out front. And then in the kitchen, we're always working on custom orders. So it actually is kind of tricky balancing the two because you always want to have stuff available out front, but you always also want to be on schedule with your orders. But it's awesome that you can just like stop in anytime when we're open and stock up in sweets.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with that.
No.
So you mentioned La Colombe and I have to share because like it is probably my favorite coffee.
Yeah.
I had, I forget what episode I'm trying to pull it up here so I don't say the wrong one. So episode 32 of the podcast here, Todd Carmichael, the CEO, was on the podcast, which was like really cool and exciting. I just kind of stumbled across him and I just kind of stumbled across each other on Instagram and he said, hey, can I come on the podcast? I'm like, yeah. Sure. Like, so it was kind of crazy. But so how did you discover La Colombe coffee? Because I think a lot of people around here, don't really know that it exists. And I mean, it is honestly, I think the best coffee I think I've ever had in my life. Yeah,
it's good. I don't like drinking coffee black, but this coffee I can drink black and I enjoy it. I think I first had it when I was in Washington, D.C. Like I said, I don't know if I said this. I did my externship in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So while I was there, I got to check out the different La Colombe cafes and then I would go there frequently. And then when it was time to open our bakery, I was like, what kind of, I don't even know where to start with coffee and machines. What do I sell? And I remembered having coffee and going like nuts over it at La Colombe in DC. And I was like, how do I sell that here? Because I want to be able to have access to that every day too. So I was able to get in touch with them, and now we sell all of their drinks, their coffee, their tea, their espresso, their the iced tea that we sell. It's an iced citrus green tea, which like it sounds, I guess, a little exotic for an iced tea maybe, but it's like the best iced tea I've ever had.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
You do iced, like iced coffees,
any
nice
of our
lattes
drinks
too?
can be made iced. We've been experimenting with like different flavors, all these different combinations we can kind of do. So you get to be creative and experimental with coffee too. So
that's cool.
Yeah. The front and the back of the business are getting to kind of come up with new creations.
Yeah. So talked a lot about like, moving back home and you found this place in Dallas and it's like truly like home for you. What would you say is your favorite thing about NEPA?
Oh, I think the sense of community with like the people here. Growing up here, I knew like I'm going to want to raise a family here one day too. And I think a lot of that was because my grandparents obviously had a business here, and they made sure that all of my cousins and I grew up together. So for me, whenever I think of NEPA, I think family and just always feeling comfortable and like at home. And it's just a nice place to live. Yeah. I don't know if that sounds cheesy, but like my brothers and my sister and I, now we're all home and we're all building lives here again. So it was nice to grow up here, leave for a little bit, but then come back. And now we're ready to, do the same for our families.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I have to call you out on this only because it's a big debate that always comes up on the podcast. So you said NEPA.
Yeah.
I said NEPA.
Oh.
Is that what you say?
Hannah?
Yeah, right. Yeah. That hasn't come up yet.
I always say NEPA.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just quicker.
I don't
NEPA.
like it.
No?
But I'll let you slide because you brought these cookies with my logo on it. So I'll let you slide. We'll still air this podcast. All right. It's all good. No, but I anytime someone says it, I just have to bless them because I feel like it's like split 50-50.
Yeah.
People say like, one way or the other.
We have family in North Carolina, and they were actually just texting us last night saying, is it wilkes-barre, wilkes-barre, or wilkes-barre? And we all had different responses.
Yeah, it depends.
I think it's technically berry, but I still say bear. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it depends like how you're saying in a sentence. And like you said, sometimes it's just quicker.
Yeah.
Wilkes-barre.
Wilkes-barre, yeah.
Wilkes-barre.
Yeah.
Or Wilkes-barre, Wilkes-barre.
Wilkes-barre.
Yeah, I think it's technically Wilkes-barre.
It's definitely not wilkes-barre.
No. I had Tony Brooks on the podcast. I don't know if you know Tony Brooks, councilman in Wilkes-barre, and he runs the Wilkes-barre Preservation Society. So if you want the pronunciation and a little history, if anyone's listening, or if you want to check it out too, Tony Brooks, I forget what episode he was on, but if you just pull up the podcast and look, you'll see he talked like all history of Wilkes-barre and the pronunciations, and like he used to have an accent over it, like a whole bit.
I'll have to send this one to my family in Carolina so they can get the lessons too.
Yes, definitely send that to them. So, I mean, how can someone buy your products besides coming in? People can call.
Yeah. So all of our custom orders, we do it online. We're right now trying to build a new website so that we can have it an easier buying process for our customers where they can go online. This is the design cake I want. This is the flavor. This is the day I want it for. And you're done.
Cool.
Right now we do everything via email. So you email me. We have a form you can fill out online, and it tells us all the, important information about your order. And then I will either follow up with an email or a phone call, and then we kind of discuss design and we get it all figured out. We usually ask for 2 weeks notice on custom cakes just because we get booked out ahead of time, and I want to devote time to each cake to make sure it's exactly what you wanted and exactly what I would expect of myself to make. So it's kind of rare that you're able to come in and just buy a cake. Sometimes like on the weekends, we'll do cases or case cakes, but for custom things, we do it all online. And then I really make sure to spend time and attention to each design. Because if you're coming to me, you're coming for like a cool cake, a custom cake. You're not just going to get
cake
like
off
something.
The shelf.
Yeah. So
it's not even the right wording.
Yeah.
You're cake out of the case, I guess is the right wording.
Yeah,
right?
A case cake.
Yeah, case cake. Yeah. There we go.
So I try to be like cognizant of that, and I want to give your design as much attention as like you want it to be given to. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we kind of take our time with that sort of thing. So we ask for 1 to 2 weeks for custom orders. Weddings, I need more time for. We've kind of worked with weddings with them being downsized so much lately, and have done a few on the fly wedding cakes, which I'm always shocked when we finish. I'm like, how do we do that so fast? But wedding cakes, I usually ask for like 6 months notice, especially if you're doing the like.
But then again, no one gets married in that short of notice anyway. Right.
So, but yeah, we take our time on things. I think sometimes people are a little shocked if we say we're booked for that weekend, but I just never want to take more orders than I think we can manage in that, like, I want to give your order time and attention so that it's perfect. And if we take on too much, like, I would never want to send something out that's not up to our standards, I guess. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you're looking for a custom cake, give us notice, please.
Yeah.
The more notice, the better. But
when's your new website launching? Do you have a day or a date?
I don't know. I've been working with one of my friends from high school to kind of recreate something that will make it an easier buying experience. Mm-hmm. Sometime after the holidays for sure, because it's just busy season. Yeah. So I don't know. Once we launch it, I'll let you know.
Okay. And it's janesugarmagnolia.com.
It is that right? And there is the double S in there because it's Jane's Sugar.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So and there's no apostrophe in the address either.
But. And how about on social media?
So on Instagram, we're Jane's_sugar_magnolia. And on Facebook, we're Jane Sugar Magnolia. Yeah. I think we have a Twitter. I'm not sure that I use it really, but we're on there.
You're most active on Facebook and Instagram if people want to go on. And
yeah, Instagram definitely. A lot of our marketing is on Facebook. Like if we have a special coming up, like the macaron flavors, I'll always post on like Thursday or Friday a picture and these are the flavors we have. And it really helps us out a lot without having to like pre-plan all this advertising. I can just post a picture and people know what we have and they'll show up for it.
Yeah. This is crazy, but I just thought of this now.
Oh, boy.
So like I have this like little mini stack like of paper. Could you make like a cake like this? Oh, yeah. So like the 1 year of the podcast is coming up in like a couple of months.
Let's do a cake.
And I think we need to do one.
I think so too.
So I'll be
we can do that.
Yeah, I'll be.
Just give me 1 to 2 weeks notice.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. It's like first week of March. So
okay.
I'll definitely have to reach out.
Yeah. We've gotten some cool requests for cakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun designs.
What's like the craziest one?
The craziest one. Let's see. We had a request for a stork cake, and that unfortunately was canceled because of the pandemic. One of my favorite cakes that I've made, I think mostly because it was for my niece, but we did like a stack of books. That one was really cool. We've gotten a lot of requests. I love this. We've gotten a lot of requests for Grateful Dead cakes, which is fun because I know that's awesome. My dad would love that.
Yeah.
But we're always like kind of surprised at what people request. Like I would have never thought to put that on a cake, but it's fun because then the customer gets to be a creative too. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So is there anything else that you want to add? I saw on your website. I don't know if you still do it. So I hope you do because I'm going to say it. Yeah. On your website, it says if you sign up for your email newsletter, you get a free cookie.
You do get a free cookie, yeah.
On your birthday.
On your birthday, yeah. Right. You just have to sign up for our newsletter, come in on your birthday or even the day before, day after. Show us that you're on our mailing list and you can pick out any cookie you want.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it was like the cookies are amazing. And good. I'm going to have to be in touch soon for my custom on the stacks cake.
Yeah, that'll be cool. We'll definitely have to do that.
All right. Well, that about does it on the Stacks podcast. Jane Henry, Jane Sugar Magnolia, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
If you'd like to learn more about the On the Stacks podcast, be sure to search the hashtag On the Stacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on the Stacks.